Yo, what's going on? How's everybody doing? Today we're going to take a look at using a very small modular system to make some absolutely enormous sounds. I put together this small skiff right here for a modular on the Spot show that I'm playing in Portland next week. And I wanted something that I could just create these giant atmospheres with, but also have lots of hands-on control. I'm somebody who loves effects, and I think one of the best part about a modular system is effects. In fact, at maybe, I'm going to guess on this number, but I would bet you about 70% of modular and eurorack designers, manufacturers, were originally guitar pedal manufacturers, and so what their specialty was all along was effects. And they make some of the best effects in eurorack, I think, without a doubt. As good as guitar pedal effects and a lot more fun to use when you start stacking them together in a board. One of the reasons why Eurorack was able to become so popular is this. Eurorack, when you're building let me stop by saying Eurorack. When you're building a desktop synthesizer or any sort of desktop electronic, you have to have that electronics get inspected before it can be sold. It has to get a stamp of approval by whatever government you're selling to. And Eurorack systems don't work that way. Eurorack modules don't have any power. They use the power of an existing case. So manufacturers can just make tons of modules and not have to deal with the red tape of hardware electronics. Pretty sick, right? And that's why we have all these amazing Eurorack manufacturers and all these ma and pa shop type manufacturers, garage DIY builders, is because a lot of people were able to just build these great modules. I'm somebody who absolutely loves this. And I don't know if they'll ever do anything about this or if there's going to become some sort of legislation against Eurorack, but I hope not, and I don't think so. But it's why we have so much Eurorack, and it's also why there was so many guitar pedals and all these cool guitar pedal makers and clones. So that's just a little, history about why this blossomed and became so big. It's the correlation between guitar pedals and Eurorack is extremely strong. They're basically the same family. That being said, I love effects in Eurorack, getting back to that. And so I originally had this larger case and I wanted to make some drum and bass. I wanted to get these huge washes, these huge pads in my system with my big synthesizers. But setting up a microcosm and the Mood Mark II and then a big polysynth and playing these chords, as fun as that was, it wasn't something I felt like I could take with me anywhere. And nor do I want to. I don't want to pack that stuff up. But also, it's just more setup. With a nice, clean Eurorack system, I don't have to deal with any of that. I just plug in the system, it's already pre-patched, ready to go, and then I just turn knobs. A really good time. That being said, it doesn't take very many Eurorack modules to get to a huge sound, and somebody like me who's spent a massive amount of time configuring effects, I make these Octatrack performance templates. As you can see, I have this magnet here for those of you who are new to this channel. And I actually make these performance templates for the Octatrack and these magnets that tell you how to use them or show you where the effects are. And it's all about the routing of the effects. It's all about separation of sounds, and do I put the reverb at the end of the chain, or do I put it before a compressor and then compress a reverb? Do I put a delay before a reverb? Do I put a filter here? Do I put a chorus over here? And then how many different effects can I get away with in that particular serial chain? That's something I focused a massive amount of time on, I'd say years, in fact, and I feel like I've perfected a couple of small formulas. Now, I put a little bit of that experience and formula into this particular tiny little system with very little patching, as you can see. These are actually my own patch cable brand. These are Modbang patch cables, little right angles that I meticulously designed these plugs to be really, really small, and very, and they're glow in the dark, which is cool. But I didn't need any modulation in here. A lot of these modules have self-modulation, and I really wanted a polysynth to be processed through these dope effects. And now I want to talk about these effects, but first I want to show you something I sampled of this, and we're going to go through this process of sampling this into the Digitakt, and then we'll use the Digatone as supplemental sounds to kind of play along with it. We're going to try and write some music. This is really important. I need to have a bunch of music written that involves the Eurorack system for this particular event. It requires you to play a Eurorack system of some sort during the event, and I usually don't play with my Eurorack. I usually just sample it. So let me play for you what I was sampling last night as I was preparing for this stream as an idea, and this is what it sounds like. So this is 100% this little system. The only sounds you're hearing that aren't are the drums, which is coming from the Digitakt. Marcus says straight to outer space. I have to agree. That's where I wanted to go. And let me show you how cool this little system is. And I'll even move the camera over and zoom in on it so we can really look at the modules and talk about what's happening. You know, we're not going to go into how each one of these modules works, but I'll just tell you, and you'll hear how some of it works, what the chain is and why the chain is built the way that it's built and why it's so freaking effective and will work really well for playing live. And then we'll talk about some other stuff when it comes to eurorack voices and why I picked the voice that I have in this system. And we'll go on a little bit. We'll do a tiny little review of the polycinematic while we're here, and in anticipation for the monumatic to arrive, which is the successor to this, which I've ordered and I'm waiting to get here. So yeah, let me zoom my camera in, and then we're gonna talk. Yep, and you guys can spy on me for a second. Should be nice and clear. All right, let's have a little discussion, shall we? So this is my tiny little eurorack system that I built for the show, and honestly, I think I'm going to be using this all the time. I think that this is so sick. I absolutely love it. That's just pinging a single note. Let me turn off all the effects. That's what we originally heard, and now let's talk about this. So, the polycinematic, this is what's generating all of the sounds. The reason why the polycinematic is here is because I wanted to use a polysynth, and I wanted something with MIDI. I didn't want to use a eurorack sequencer when I already have all my sequences baked into my Electron boxes. It's annoying. It's annoying to have to try and add that element when I'm already so fluent and quick on my existing ecosystem. I'm a firm believer that you lean into your ecosystem, you get good at it, and you try and make that work. And every time you introduce a new ecosystem to your existing primary ecosystem, you're creating more work. Now, that doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means that you're creating more work. You know, that is what it is, right? And I like to optimize my workflow as much as possible. I like to have things be as playable and as fun as possible. And that's what this allowed me to do. So as you can see, all I have coming from my Digitakt, I was using my Digatone, but it was getting stuck notes in the polycinematic, but the Digitakt wasn't. So Digatone, I'm not sure what's going on with that. All I'm using is this single little TRS, and this is another one of my cables that I make, this little transparent TRS cable into the MIDI input on the polycinematic. And this worked perfectly. So I'm sending over MIDI on channel 16 on the polycinematic. There are CC values for this entire module. In fact, this module is barely usable, in my opinion, without MIDI. It really is a MIDI instrument that just fits in a eurorack system. While it has some CV jacks, they don't do very much. They're extremely basic. There is a whole plethora of CC messages that you can use with this. The filter cutoff, the ADSR is fully controllable over MIDI. You don't have any control over that here. A whole bunch of parameters that don't exist. A pitch envelope, which you can adjust by holding shift and turning some stuff for making drums if you wanted to make drums, which I'm not going to. But the point is that this works the best via MIDI. And because it's a polysynth, and it's an okay sounding polysynth, I get to do really cool things. So if I go to, you can't see it, I'm on my Digitakt now. Little 7th chord, okay? Sounds fine. Add some detune. It's got enough of the pretty sounds, which is called polycinematic, that when you process it through these awesome effects units that I have here, and they are awesome. All of them are awesome. They sound super sick. So we can start with Beads. Beads is a granular synthesizer. It does have a built-in like big spacey reverb, which I'm not going to use because I have other reverbs in here, and that's kind of the point. I have a lot of units with built-in reverbs. This has a built-in reverb. And then these two have built-in reverb, built-in reverb, built-in reverb, and I'm not really going to use any of their reverbs. This is the master reverb, but we're going to get to that. So this unit generates a chord, which I can program in my Digitakt and play live, and I will, and that's kind of the point, but I can also sample into my Digitakt and build these beautiful layers from this one system, just making massive amounts of sounds. And so it goes polysynth, doesn't matter that it's a polycinematic, just polysynth, into Beads. Beads is a granular processor. As I said, with a built-in reverb, it has built-in modulation. It doesn't need patch cables to have a good time. It can also be a wavetable if you like, which I think is okay. I don't really use it for that. I use it as a granular effects processor, which it does very well. Check this out. So there we go, just going into Beads. And if I wanted, I could turn up its own reverb. Or freeze it. How nice is that, right? Just find a sweet spot and sample it, right? Throw it into a sidechain bus and duck it on a kick. Beautiful. Absolutely banger. Really fun module. Sounds great with its own reverb, and like I said, has its own modulation. You just have to get familiar with the controls. They're not crazy. They are strange, but they're not crazy controls. It does what it does really well. Granular stuff, it kills it. So from here, we go into the Mimeophone. This is a classic. Beads is a classic. That's just the V2 of clouds, essentially. So we're familiar with this already. It's been around a long time. Mimeophone's been around forever. This is Make Noise's iconic delay, I'd say. Iconic at this point. Sounds awesome. Let's get this out of here. In reverse. Has a reverb. Has a nice filter. And you can skew it in the stereo field. Huge. Great for doing this kind of dub stuff, like, which is great for this, having a chord synth. I can do minor chords, throw it into Mimeophone, and get these beautiful dub delays that are very playable. This is a very playable delay. It's a lot of fun, has a lot of different controls. I love it. Had Mimeophone forever. I think it's a classic. So the Mimeophone runs into this stereo filter called the Overseer. This is typically used as a master stereo filter that offers a tilt functionality. And what the tilt functionality does, and this is also pretty playable, you can mess with this live, you can modulate it too, which would be sick, but I don't have space, is that you can tilt the low pass and the high pass out into different stereo fields. And this sounds really cool. You can hear that. Now if I was to give it some Mimeophone. How about some of this? Okay, so the point here is that this master filter on this effect is happening post these two effects. These two effects are smearing. These two effects do a great job of smearing the sound. They just make a wall out of whatever notes that you're sending into it. What I want to do is be able to low pass or high pass that so I can play with that and bring things in and out. Now, when I have this engaged, this is another delay. So post this, it kind of like smears them all together. And then I can throw it through another delay. And then last but not least, we get a big reverb. These are effects aids. This is the real gold right here. And that, my friends, is this lovely little skiff. And its superpower is making that sound that you just heard. But it doesn't have to just be that sound. Now, let's do a little mini review of the Polycinematic. The Polycinematic is not a cheap eurorack module, and the Monumatic, which is the successor to this eurorack module, also not a cheap eurorack module. This is a DAISY synthesizer, essentially, with a faceplate and some encoders and some good programming. And while it sounds decent, I think the Monumatic, its successor, from the demos I've heard, sounds a whole hell of a lot better. And I've actually kind of avoided using this module a little bit, and I'm not trying to throw any shade on the Polycinematic because I've had it for a long time. And today it's doing me a great service, so I do like this module quite a bit. It's definitely achieving the goal. That being said, if I had the option between the newer module and this module, I would definitely go for the Monumatic. And the other option that would fill this exact same role for me, which is basically put a polysynth into a small eurorack system, would be the Oxy Choral. So if Oxy Instruments is watching this stream, hook it up, yo, and I'll put it on this channel. We'll play with it. Because they are, I can't find them anywhere. I also can't find Monumatics anywhere. So it seems like there's a great drought on these wonderful MIDI-in modular polysynths. And now the Oxy Choral, unlike the Polycinematic, is borrowing a lot from Mutable Instruments Plats. It's basically a poly Plats, but it has a bunch of extras in it as well. So it is, unique in that way. This is just a polysynth that was probably designed using maybe pure data, or I'm not sure what language they use. Maybe it's a C++, and then it got compiled into something that DAISY could read and installed on a DAISY chip. So this was one of their first modules. It did very, very well. I worked at the synth shop for a long time. We sold a whole bunch of Polycinematics, including one to myself. The Poly Monumatic, which I'm hoping to have here in the next couple days so I can use it at this show, is the same idea, different color spectrum. They even have an all black version, which would be nice to have, but that's not the one I ordered. Is the same thing with more CV inputs, but a more classic and more robust synthesizer engine and more filters to choose from. It was all sounds that I really wanted more of. And so I'm excited to get it in my system and just replace this with that module. Until that happens, this is definitely doing the trick. So the whole workflow here is send polysynth chords in here, find something you really like. We could switch over to, and even do some like classic electron sequencing into it, where like maybe we do that Euclidean trick where we put a bunch of notes down in the sequencer and just start toggling the Euclidean to find different notes, or go into a scale mode and just play so that it's real easy on us, or, play in chromatic mode and try and be a little more careful. I've been having a really great time with this system. It works just as you heard it. Something you do want to note is beads, and I've heard this in so many different people's beads videos because I was watching other people's systems and just seeing if there was something else that that maybe I wanted, and often I would see beads in their system, is that you want to adjust the gain and beads. The auto gain and beads I don't think works perfectly well, and that's just holding this button and turning this knob, and that will adjust the gain for beads, and that will get rid of clipping. That'll make it so beads stops clipping. It's pretty useful. Isn't that great? And it makes just some crazy sounds. Now, I've seen some people, there's a performer here in Seattle, Aria Bear, who plays with the beads in their eurorack system, and the sounds that they get from their beads, nothing like the sounds I'm getting from my beads right now. Their stuff is just gut-wrenching distortion, totally destructive techno sounds, and sounds awesome in that context. So beads doesn't have to be used as a an ambient melodic scenario how I'm using it, which is a very classic and simple way to use it, what I'm doing right now. But I think it works in all those contexts. Mimeophone, also great. There's lots of cool things you can do with some modulation, which we're not going to be using. I do have a little MIDI module to replace my longer old MIDI module to go into this system. And I'm just going to use a MIDI through and send MIDI out to both that and this so that I can get some CV control and control some of these other parameters of these modules from that other MIDI module, and then save a MIDI instrument in my Digitakt. And that's going to be the workflow. So the last two modules, I guess we didn't talk about. This right here is my module. Me and Raya Media worked together to create this. This is a ground loop isolator passive module. It's not available yet, but this will be available at modbang.com along with the glow-in-the-dark MIDI cables. Those are available now. But soon this will be available and go in your case for those people who are often struggling with ground loop isolation. If you're an M8 user and you like to have your mate plugged into USB-C, you'll notice there's a ground loop there and you usually have to unplug it. But if you run it through a ground loop isolator with good transformers, that won't be a problem. So we built one that could go in your eurorack system. And you just go right from this, you would go into this and then out through that. So just a second pair of 1/4 inch or 3.5. You can toggle between the two. This module is the effects aid. This is a multi-algorithm module. As you can hear, that's the reverb in an effects aid. These are not expensive for a eurorack module. These are pretty affordable. I mean, these sound absolutely massive. They're amazing. I have 3 of them. I have 2 of these 3U ones, and I have a 1U effects aid, and I have no intention of selling any of them because they're so incredibly usable in eurorack. They're essentially just like really dope multi-effects modules. They're a little hard to parse what you're doing because there really is nothing for you to see what you're doing. It's kind of like working on a Disting Mark IV with a little bit less of the complications of the Disting Mark IV. And those jacks on the Disting Mark IV, I feel like the patch cables always pop out of. But that's it. That's the presentation on this lovely little eurorack setup, which could be adjusted and different modules could come in there. I could pop this out and throw a noise engineering Bacillus or Manus or some other grittier thing and run it through this exact same workflow. Just pop this out, replace these cables, and it would be another amazing but absolutely new timbre to explore using this setup. Granular, into delay, into stereo filter, into delay, into a large reverb. And this one is particularly large and has a lot of shine on it because it has, there's an octave inside the reverb. So a little pitch shifter. And sounds dope, and I highly recommend you explore this effects chain. This is something you can do in Bitwig, you can do it in Ableton. It's very easy to explore this effects chain, and you just bring some depth up. And if you can, send clock to them. That's something I really want, is clock out to the delay and to the delay. I think that would be incredibly useful for me so that I could really tinker with some of the times and have it stay in speed with the music. That's really all I want to talk about here. Now let's use this to make some cool sounds and sample them into the Digitakt. So I'm going to pull the camera back into its original spot. We'll get cracking. Oh. All right. Cool. Isn't that lovely? Isn't she lovely? This is paired with the no, not the Hyper FX template. This is the hybrid 4x4 template that's still in beta, but it has this, has a little bit from a bunch of different performance templates that I made. It's only available on patreon.com/EZBOT at the moment, so you can't get it anywhere else. It's also not finished, but it is the template that we're playing with today. It has four free tracks for you to put your own sounds in and process them through the Octatrack's effects. I love this type of sound, you know, making this like deep house, this trance music. Really fun for me to explore. It's something that I find really easy for me because my ear just bends in the direction of chords and melodies, and that's just, I think all of us feel that way, and it's always kind of takes some restraint to not do that, and which is why I respect techno production so much, because it really takes a massive amount of restraint to not start throwing melodies and like fun dancey bass lines on top of everything if you know how to make them. That being said, we get to do whatever we want. We get to make fun, groovy bass lines in this current setup. And this setup sounds really good. What I want to do in this particular setup here is I do want to make like a sidechain bus. So I'm going to sidechain these two sounds to my kick, which is doing this pattern here. And I like this kick pattern for this track. You know, we'll expand this. My workflow is start with a bar, bounce the bars out, and start iterating on the bars later on in your sequence. I think that's probably everybody else's workflow too. So to do this, what we want to do is go function setup. We want to go to compressor routing and take everything out and then pick what goes in. I know it's 15 and 8 for those two sounds that I got from here. And I just want to hear what they sound like being sidechained to this kick drum. And we can also sidechain the incoming audio from here, and we'll probably end up doing that and set that up for when I'm playing this show. I think I'm playing for like 25 minutes or something. Yeah, basically what I'm going to be doing is taking my existing music that I've already written and adding a new element. And that new element is going to be these huge washing pads from this little eurorack system. And I surely hope the Monumatic gets here before August 10th, because that's when I have to play. So as long as it gets here by Friday, I think I'm okay, and I can learn it, get familiar with it, build a preset in my Digitakt or Digitonne. Maybe it'll not have MIDI frozen notes with the Digitonne, and assign the CC parameters to that unit here so that I can do parameter locking, which is what I really want to do. Right now we don't have any CCs locked or parameters put in through the instrument that I have made here, so there's nothing saved in this instrument to control this other than sending MIDI notes. And that's fine. But getting back to this, now what I want to do is go into my compressor, page 5, oh, I'm a fool, page 1, and set the sidechain source to track 1. That is where I put the kick drum. I don't need my sidechain filter on at all, and I don't need any makeup gain. The release is already set to a number I like. 32 is pretty good. I'm going to bring this down. We'll start at 16 and see how it sounds. I like it. It actually makes that kick, you can hear that that kick is a lot bigger than I thought it was now that it's not being masked by the eurorack system. And I don't have the effects in the Digitakt being processed through this sidechain bus, so like the compressor is not being used to compress at all. It's just using the envelope follower and ducking volumes. So very much like LFO Tool or Gatekeeper, if you're familiar with Gatekeeper by Infected Mushroom, on your computer that is. And of course so many other tools, Bitwig and Ableton can just do this naturally, you don't need to use a VST. But I do think this sounds really good. I have my kick drum very much muted with a low pass. You can see what that value is set to, 7728. If I open this up, the kick is real punchy. I don't like it. It doesn't sound good with this track, but I liked the sound of the, like I like how the kick sounds, but I think it's too punchy, so I really used a low pass filter to just get rid of the really high mid-high transient that was there. And I think it does the trick. It's really thumpy, it's a powerful kick. Could probably use a little bit of modulation on the volume. Yeah, that sounds better. You know, I think I do like the sidechain to these two instruments. And I have some reverb and delay on them. You can hear them here. This is a chord progression. Oh, it's not a progression, actually. It's just a chord that I played manually. It's just a minor chord. Dun, 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 dun. And then this is a sequence that I played live into my Digitakt and then used the threshold. It's set to 128. And then I just recorded it live, or I didn't have to record it live. I just hit the record button. It sounds like this. This is this system here. Sounds pretty dope. There's some weird little transient stuff in there. I don't know what that's from. Maybe it's from beads. Maybe it's from the Digitakt, but I don't think it'll be a big deal in a live context at the very least. But I do hear it somewhere along there. Doesn't matter. Sounds great. This is one of the reasons why the Digitakt is so awesome. Digitakt II versus Digitakt I, and why it's a great reason to upgrade from a Digitakt 1 to a Digitakt 2. For one, stereo. So all these cool stereo effects that I have in my modular system, they're being captured by the Digitakt 2. They would not be captured by the Digitakt 1, and I'd have to do some like faux fox, whatever you want to call it, some processing to kind of emulate the experience of stereo. I don't have to do that with the Digitakt 2, and also there's 20 gigs of sampling. So I am very careless about sampling now. I just sample whenever I want. Everything that I want in large segments of audio, and I haven't even made the tiniest impact on my Digitakt, including this massive amount of sample library that I've put on there, which is several gigs of sounds, many of them mono, which means they take up just a few kilobytes. I have tons of these samples in there, and the Digitakt II just does a great job of this. So I'm just loving this experience of using my modular again, and I'm constantly trying to use a larger modular system and struggling to enjoy the process. And every time I bring it down to these little IntelliGel palette skiffs, my life just gets a lot better. Typically, I have I keep the effects data in here, and then I have the Moogs, not the subharmonicon, but the Moog Labyrinth in here. And I just love the Moog Labyrinth sitting in here with a single stereo effect on it, because this has so many different algorithms that you can just go ham and create these really interesting rhythms or melodies, even, because the Labyrinth does a great job of generating melodies as well. It has all these cool quantize functions with its multi-sequencer. And anyway, it's just a really cool time. And for whatever reason, for me, there's lots of people who can use larger eurorack systems, but for me, the smaller the system, the more material I end up making with it. And I think really all I wanted was a polysynth running into a bunch of dope stereo effects. That's what we have here. So now I think we need a bass line. And I'm not going to use this to make the bass line. We've already got some sounds from this that I did prior to the stream, and we're going to get more sounds and maybe even start another track. But while we're still working on this existing sound, I think like a sub bass from the Digatone would be pretty sick. And we can just get that right from an FM tone. I like to put it on track 1. There you go. How easy is that? It might not work for us, but we'll see. Right now I'm working at 256. That is a 16-bar loop. And I did that on purpose because this melodic sequence here is an 8-bar sequence, and if it because it's kind of memorable, it has this note that's like, it's this note. You'll listen, and that note right there. That note on top of the chord progression kind of messes with you. This section right here gets a little too heavy on the filter, and it's also where the pop comes from. Just doing a little bit of low pass seemed to Make that go away. We can hear that. That note. I guess it's note 2. That's with the sub bass. Easiest patch in the world. You just change your carrier to a quarter and it just divides those harmonics. Sounds pretty good to me. All right, I'm gonna put down a trig and I'm just gonna let this, and maybe we'll do another sidechain bus over here so it kind of matches this kick drum pattern. I like doing that a lot. I think it's really effective. Put a trigger down, have this length go for maybe 32 steps. Let's just hear how this first note works. I'm not sure if we were doing C chords. Usually are, because that's just what the keyboard is always set to, but we'll see. Okay, we'll go here. Actually, a good workflow is just to copy this because it already has the length parameter already affixed to it. And one of the things I keep accidentally doing is adjusting this length parameter. They're in the same spot. They're both called length. They both show time. I keep messing that up. Put this down and change this note. Will this work with it? Sure will. Try one here. That won't. Let's try this for now. Yes, the bass line turned out so good already. Kind of a guess. Tell because it's so low and my hearing is so bad. Is this F out of tune? Maybe we go back to the D. It could be good at the A sharp. Scale. The problem is, so one of the kind of funny lessons with a system like this, when you have sounds like this and you're doing them live, and if you play them live, when you do hit the wrong note, because these notes are just so big, everything is so huge, it is so noticeable, right? If I go to the right here. Pick a sound. Maybe we get a long attack. Problem is I can't send any vibrato to this. Let's see if we can do it with an LFO from the Digitakt. Destination. I guess we send the destination to pitch bend. I wonder if that would work. Let's see. Maybe I have to enable pitch bend first. That does work. Yes! I can't believe I didn't think of this before. Oh, it's freaking enormous. Oh. Ridiculous. Why aren't I doing this all the time? Why do I ever ignoring my modular too much? I mean, that's huge. Well, that's like Blade Runner. So what's really nice is having this filter, this stereo filter with this cool tilt function and all that, but having it before a delay and before the reverb means that, say I take this reverb out and this delay out. I can send filter sweeps into a delay, but then still use this filter to shape the actual sound. Extremely resonant, this filter. Absolutely lovely. Okay. Oh, you know what's really blowing my mind, to be honest, though, is using the pitch bend for my modulator in this with the Digitakt's MIDI LFO and actually getting vibrato from this device is a complete game changer because I love vibrato on my synthesizers. I don't like that super clean line of pitch. It sounds weird. It doesn't sound real. I mean, it has its place, of course, but this sounds better to me. Let me turn this off real quick. Oh, it's just awesome. Makes this thing sound so much better. Oh my gosh. Use the 5th parameter. This makes these crazy, makes your chords sound totally insane. Oh my god. That has no effects on it. That's just this module. Maybe I've been unfair to it. Sounds amazing. Holy smokes. That chord. Could honestly build an entire track around just this chord, this sample. So big, so clean, so lush. Sub bass with it. Oh my gosh, beautiful. So one of the sad things, my first pairing with this beautiful this little mini modular system, one of the first things I paired it with was my favorite thing ever, the M8 tracker. And I gotta say, there's some real advantages to pairing this with the M8 tracker versus with any Electron box. And one of those main advantages is that it has an awesome arpeggiator for MIDI. And only the Octatrack has a good arpeggiator, and also, but I don't trust the Octatrack's MIDI out, so it always freaks me out because I'm like, it's gonna catch notes and stuff like that. I've had too many mishaps with the Octatrack's MIDI out, but I haven't had any with the M8's MIDI out. And I was using the Polycinematic, and this is another reason why the Monomatic looks so interesting to me, and or the Oxychoral, was because the Monomatic can be used in a monophonic mode, where there's a button on it just to switch to mono. And I don't think you can switch the Polycinematic to mono mode, but I would sure like to. But regardless, if I set it to plucks and, you know, just a plucky sound anyway, there won't be any sort of cascading notes over each other, creating polyphony. And then you send an arpeggiator to it, and then you run the arpeggiation through this crazy effect setup that I have on the table. And the sound is phenomenal. I mean, it's as good as this beautiful chord that's running through it right now, but there's something more exciting about playing with the arpeggiator because you can really add a lot more accidentals, or not accidentals, because that would be out of the scale, but just a lot more notes. You can get a lot more creative with it without having to program meticulously. For me to do an arpeggiation here from my Digitakt, I'm going to have to program an arpeggiation, which means I'm going to have to think about the chord. And then I'm going to have to program those notes across 8 bars. It's a really annoying process. And sad that the Electron boxes don't have arpeggiators. Now, I think that we've gone over quite a bit. We've shown off a lot of cool sounds. I think this is a really good time for me to say what's up to the chat and check in and see how everybody's doing. It's Tuesday. We're having a good day. We're making some cool music. We're having a good time. This is what we're trying to do. And hang out with our favorite hardware on the desk, play with a little bit of modular, something a little bit easier to grasp. I do think that when people get into modular, usually my go-to instructions for them is to buy a bigger case than what I'm using on the table right now. And that's because when you're new to modular, you're you're jumping into the black hole. Like when you get a taste of modular and the kind of especially if you can afford it, the playability, the hands-on playability, but also the customization that comes with a modular synthesizer, the system design. And I think a lot of people get really addicted to the system design, and even less so than the sounds that they're making. In fact, often people's modular sounds, even though they're getting better and better because modular is becoming more mainstream, when I was first getting into it, there wasn't many examples of good sounding modular. It was usually like very bleepy bloopy stuff and just kind of like boring melodies that were programmed over 4 8 bars and they never changed. That's not the case anymore. A lot of people have gotten much better at it. There's better MIDI implementation into eurorack modules, such as the module I'm using today, the Polycinematic, and you just can get a lot further. And I'm using it as a synthesizer instead of a groove box. Building a groove box in modular is stagnating, in my opinion. As fun as it is, that's where you get lost in the system. I find it just to be a really tough situation because you find yourself constantly changing modules, picking a new sound. And if you decide you want to get the new kick drum, like there's a new kick drum out, right? The ohm or whatever. If you decide you want to get that kick drum, does it fit in your case? If it doesn't, you have to move 2 modules. If you have to move 2 modules, maybe one of them can't come back in at all. And now you have to find a module that does a similar job that fits in the HP that you have available. That process is modular. And that's where modular, I think, is a struggle. And you get on the struggle bus and you start spending all this money. What is fun, though, is that modular holds its value and you can trade these modules back and forth with each other. And that experience is really cool. So you can find these great marketplaces and trade modules back and forth. And I enjoy that process. When I invest into any sort of music gear, I may have said this before, but this is kind of like how I treat music production and hardware, because I'm very into hardware. When I spend some money, that equity in my music production stuff, it stays music equity no matter what. When I sell an item, it never goes to paying for another thing. Like if I wanted to buy a PlayStation 6 when it comes out, I wouldn't sell an Electron box to buy that. I would have to save up and wait to buy that because music equity stays music equity. And I like that because it helps my music gear grow and it helps me stick to my workflow and my environment. And when I want to trade stuff, I have to be really thorough and really think about it, what I'm going to do, and does it fulfill the role that I need it to? And with enough experience, I think that it's a good workflow to kind of like stick to that if you can. Course. If you have to sell it to pay a bill, that's different. But if it's to just buy something that's also gratuitous and hobby ish, fitting that role, I think it's great to keep things as music equity. I like that idea. All right, that's my monologue. Now I'm going to check the chat and see what's up. What's up, Jake? How's it going? Average Couch Enjoyer. Love that name. Small York System or where it's at. I agree with you. Rolly Miller, what's up? Good to see ya. Marcus, how are you? Straight to outer space. Harry, FX Aid slaps, you know it. I think you got a couple of them. Levi, how's it going? You've got 4 HP to work with. I do. I have a little bit of room left. I don't know if I have enough power jacks in here, enough shrouded headers for me to plug any more eurorack modules in, but I do have some more HP to work with. That's where the Oxy Coral could have worked because it's larger than the Polycinematic. Let's see, Fem2, Alt plus F4. Okay, Alt plus F4. Circuit Bloom, what's going on? 96, 96. Don't get into eurorack. Now, that's a message that more often than not I can get behind. Because I think that there's a lot of, you can get attracted to the idea of it and not really realize what you're getting yourself into, and you find yourself, $10,000 in the hole, and then you're like bought another box that just does all of it for you, or you switch to going into the computer entirely, and it becomes a thing. So I understand that message, but I think if you have you know, if you can afford it and you're excited about it, go for it. Jamic. Love to install the modules upside down in this system so you can have the 1U modules at the bottom. I don't, you know, I don't want this. Hot take. I don't want my outputs down here. I'd rather my outputs be up top. I understand the Ricky Tinez look is cool, but yeah, I don't want to do that. I get it, but I don't know why I'd want these down here. I want to play with this stuff right here. I don't know. Anyway, just my comment on that. Don't get into modular, learn the ukulele. Yo, yo, yo. Rustic, what's going on? Synthlove, how are you? Powell, what's going on? Oops, I broke it. You have a show on the 10th, but it's not on the website events page. That's right. Well, that's because the website events page, the Modbang website events page is not up to date with shows that aren't Modbang related. So if it's Modbang or Modbang adjacent, meaning it's Modbang X, such as like, for example, Fruiting Body is another local, or Basement State's another local, or Modular Seattle's another local, Modbang might team up with these other crews, and that would be also on the events page. But if it's not adjacent to Modbang, if it's not something that Modbang is, you know, endorsing, not that the show I'm playing Modbang wouldn't endorse, it's just, it's its own thing. I'm just a performer going and playing a show. So it doesn't end up on the events page because Modbang isn't just about me, it's about the community. And I don't like to act like I am the focus. It feels weird, it just makes me feel grimy. But that is a good question, and maybe I should post my shows on my website, but usually I just share them in the Discord. Which also, by the way, if some of you noticed that are a part of the EZBOT Discord, my Discord account was hacked last night. And it tried to give away my Patreon files, but it wasn't really Patreon files. It was some sort of virus. And anyway, Discord clamped down on it themselves and just deactivated my own account and had me redo the password, and we solved it. But that was really weird because I had two-factor enabled, so I'm not sure how it even happened. But turned out to be not much of a thing. They booted some of my moderators, but we got them back. I wonder why modern synthesizers do not have this quality of quantity and quality of effects on board that is represented in a small rack. On the other hand, no big digital polysynth reveals in the last 40 years. That is not entirely true, Danny. And Danny, longtime EZBot enjoyer, I guess. Good to see you here. That's not entirely true because we do have a couple of polysynths that do have really powerful effects. If I'm not mistaken, the Moog 1, which is extremely expensive, it's like $6,000 plus. I don't think they sold very many of them, to be honest. Because it's too much money. Comes with Eventide's effects, I think. It's like built-in Eventide H9. So that one's super sick, and you can modulate it, and those effects are amazing. It has like granular and stuff. Arturia Polybrute has incredible effects built into it. That one's awesome. Even your Arturia Mini Freak, which the whole synthesizer is based on effects. Like the whole idea around it is like it has some simple oscillator stuff that it can do, wavetables and such, and then an analog filter, and then it has effects. And then last but not least, you can't see it in the screen here, but the Melbourne Delia and the Melbourne Nina, but let's speak from the Delia because that's the one that I own. Melbourne Delia actually has some pretty awesome effects on it. It's not like granular like beads or something, but the other ones I think do have granular on them, and you can do some pretty wild stuff. So not entirely true that all synthesizers, but more of them could incorporate it. I don't think it's very much. It's like a daisy chip. It's just a matter of the hard work that goes into like curating good effects, getting the licensing from other effects developers, and that's usually how it goes. Building your own effects from scratch is too much, so you license it. Like Time Stretch is licensed from the same Time Stretch place that everybody licenses it from. Reverb is like, you know, good reverbs are licensed, stuff like that. So it has to do with that, I think. And I'm not talking to you directly, Danny, because maybe you already know this stuff, but just in general. Is the beads just a complicated delay? I would say no. I know that Powell says most definitely yes. Maybe he's not responding to that question, but I would say that, no, I'm coughing. I'm dying suddenly. I would say that beads is, I mean, while it does have an effect of, the sound of it is delayed post the incoming audio, whereas a reverb seems to be pretty immediate, and but beads is not immediate. It does have to process that audio, and it does kind of sound like a delay. But I don't consider granular and delay to be in this, like they're cousins, of each other, but I wouldn't say that they're the same. Granular is a sampling process, and I guess delay can be considered a sampling process too, because it is just going in a buffer and then being repeated. But the way that it's approaching this is using like recorders, where it's literally recording snippets of audio, and then it's modulating a playhead with envelopes on those playhead, and it's being triggered by events. You can trigger the event. That's not the same as how a delay works. So that's my argument for that. Perfect timing, modular rules. What's up, Gigi? Gigi is a fantastic musician making tons of great M8 tracks right now that just sound so good. I'm happy to see you. Can the tone not make similar chords to these chords? Great question, Aoki Price, and a totally relevant question. I would say that I'm gonna go. I could pull a Trump on you and just not answer it, but no. The answer is yes, of course. Here's the thing: if I was to use the digatone in the same fashion that I'm using the polycinematic, then I wouldn't have access to putting leads over it. I wouldn't have effects. What am I trying to say? I wouldn't have 16 voices that I could play on top of these huge beds, right? If I just ran this right into it, I would lose out on any discerning sounds. Like I wouldn't be able to discern one track from another there. Everything would just run through this cloud of hazy goodness. While it would sound super sick, I can't just run some sounds out without a computer, an audio interface, and overbridge running at the same time. Would I be able to get one particular track from a digatone into this little system, which sounds golden? The noise engineering version and Alia models are quite cool because you can switch the firmware, so you can switch it up, and they release new firmwares regularly. I totally agree with you. I think an alternative module that could be, I think the mimeophone could be replaced by another delay, and you'd probably still get some similarly great sounding results. How cool is that, though? I think there's some modulation happening. You could replace this with one of the noise engineering modules. You could replace this with one of the noise engineering modules. There's room for that, but you're not going to find a reverb that sounds in a delay and the effects that are in the effects aid that sound as good as these ones do. That fits in 1U. They don't exist. It's just this one. If you can find one that sounds as good as this that fits in 1U, let me know. But until you can point that out for me, I'm just right about it. That's how I feel. Effects aids are off the chain and they've been out for a long time. Developer is a total baddie. Love it. You can reverse the grains here. Going on this side. Makes like more of a soupy sound. And you can change the fidelity of beads. Although we don't need to just dive into all about beads, but I do love talking about these effects. The effects chain is really what makes this work, because it becomes a very playable effects chain. Having this filter in there and then the delay post filter and the reverb post delay and post filter. I can like tweak and send sounds that are building up here, let the pressure build here, and use this filter to like send them through the delay and through the reverb, and it's very cinematic in nature. Really cool. Very satisfying. But nothing is satisfying me quite as much as using pitch vibrato as a modulator to this, because now that I have like some actual vibrato on the synthesizer, it just went from being like okay sounding to sounding pretty great. And vibrato has that power. If you're playing a guitar and you do vibrato with your finger, it sounds awesome. It completely changes how good the guitar sounds. You just add a little vibrato to it. Could you tell me a bit about your daily routines? What would you recommend for someone who's diving deep into sound design? Well, my daily routine isn't, I don't have a daily routine, I would say, that is all about sound design. But I think a good routine, and this is the routine that I've been doing that I think has been opening up a lot of skills for me. And I think that this is, you're going to find it to be cliche, actually, because it's so obvious in retrospect. It's the same thing that you would do if you wanted to learn any instrument. What I do is I find music that I like, and I try to one for one it on my hardware devices, which forces me to learn how to sound design on that particular instrument. This is something I do in private lessons all the time. It's my favorite kind of private lesson, honestly, because it's enhancing my own skill set while also enhancing someone else's, and we're learning, kind of learning together. You just need to know how to, finagle and mess about on these machines themselves. But I would say, grab a track that you really like and try and rebuild it in your hardware, and follow your nose. Just have a, follow your ears is what I mean. Just listen to the sound and tweak the sounds. And when you hear something with movement, try and emulate the movement with your own hands. And when you find that movement, if it's something that can be done with your hand, apply an LFO or a modulator to it so that it does the movement for you. And that's kind of like the workflow of sound design. There's some really particular stuff that is like, it's going to require a lot more practice, and it's a lot more recipe. Like, it's the same recipe over and over again, and then you just tweak things in a recipe. And those recipes are really good to learn. And there's just a whole slew of build how to do a respace, stuff like that. How to do a wub wub type sound, like how to do a rolling, cascading, like that where the filter cutoff speeds up and it's like, or slows down so that it starts like sounding like really animated. Stuff like that. Those are recipes that you can just adjust. But learning sound design has to do with whatever instrument that you're on, I would say. Matthew, have you tried the Monumatic? Yeah, we were talking about that. No, I don't. I haven't tried it, but I did order it, and it's on its way here. Okay, so I really like this a lot, and I think if I sample it and put it into my Digitakt and we throw like a square wave on it to give it some movement, it like ends in my right ear. Is that because of this? Why is that? Strange. I don't think it has anything to do with my cables. Got a really nice sound now. I think this would sound really good in a drum and bass pattern. I do need to get music done. Let's go to a new pattern, and I want to record that chord. So actually, let's go back to this pattern really quick and just steal this track. All right, cool. Stolen. You get the reference? Every time someone says the word stolen or steal, it's just NBA Jam immediately for me. Stolen. He's heating up. Holy smokes. Sounds really good. I think I'm gonna get it without beads though. I just use mimeophone, this delay, and some of this reverb. Just huge wash. We're using this in a fifth mode, so it's making like these lower fifths of every note. But it sounds so good over this chord. It's making this chord just so thick. So good. I kind of wish that this had a chord mode. It doesn't, but I wish it did. Because if it did, I could just go through and snag a couple of chords, because programming chords on this keyboard is so obtuse to me. It's something so distracting about the way it's laid out. So we're just going to start with this. It's always good to sample a C chord anyway, because it'll correspond with your sequencer keyboard. When you do offsets, they'll actually match the note. If you do a sample a C chord and you offset down to a B, it'll be a B chord. So it makes sense to sample C chords. All right, we're gonna grab this. We don't need to be 128 steps. I think 32 steps should probably cover it. Oh. I like that too. That's nice. Let's just do 4 bars, I guess. I heard another little transient click in there. I don't know if it's coming from one of these or if it's the Digitakt. You can hear it, but I don't think it matters. How good is that? This little system. Beautiful. C minor 7. Skiff. We'll assign it to 15. Okay. Later, the track 15, and make this 8 bars. Make this 8 bars. Make this play longer than that. See how it sounds with just 16. I guess we could just make it do its whole thing, right? Sounds great. Let's do the house thing, and then that's the one. Let's speed this up. Or do we want to slow? Do we want to go real slow? Should we see like kind of a drum and bass feel for it? And then we can see what's up with like a house vibe. Let's check out that LFO idea I was talking about, where we take an LFO to the amplifier, set it on trig mode. little fade, so maybe we can get rid of that. Nice. Let's get these effects changed so they actually sound good. By default, they're pretty weak sauce. Let's go back to that sub bass again. I really liked where that was at. I think there should be some silence. I think silence feels so good in tunes. We need to have a time, like maybe on this turnaround. Maybe it goes like this. Maybe this whole bar doesn't play on the second turnaround, so don't play on 2 of 2. Where is that? Don't play 2 of 4. Let's go to our kick and do the same thing. We'll do these two. Don't play on 2 of 4. I want to hear some other sounds from this system. I don't know why that turned out. Oh yeah, we didn't turn it up yet. Definitely the mimeophone. Whatever. Yeah. That'd be a cool sound to get here. Like something like. Kind of nice. want the snare to also not play at that bar. Let's check this out. Let's try a square. Octaves? I love this, like, these cleaner textures like this. I don't think that's the sound. I think I liked the... Go try triangle. Sounded better when I just did this. Okay, let's make it mono. Maybe I actually want to start that. I want to pick a new note. What's the next one I want to be? Doing the wrong same spot on both. Should this be here? Let's see how that sounds. Okay, that sounds kind of nice. Do I want? Let's see. Oh, that's a nice rhythm. I like that. Let's copy that. And Paste that here, and then we'll just change the notes because the rhythm sounds pretty good. I think maybe we just go to the and go. It was D sharp. We'll go up an octave, D sharp. We'll do this octave and then back to that D sharp. Page 1 I don't care for. Let's do that same thing here. I think like right in that where it does the 2 of 4 and it doesn't play anything in that moment, I think that's a really good time for like something to happen on another track. So we do the inverse, we set it to 8 bars. Maybe just put it down here. Usually I do like an alternative kick drum down there, but since we sidechain to the kick, can't really do that. So yeah, we'll put it down here. Make this 8 bars long. And then on whatever, I'm not sure what we'll put here, but we'll record something that happens that's big and opens up for the length of 8s for half a note and then stop so that there's maybe a reverse. Actually, here's an idea. And then reverse it. Look at this. Yep. 8 steps. Maybe longer, I guess. And we want this to be on 2 of 4 so that it plays when that other one doesn't. No release. Yeah, or a little bit, I guess. Oh, that sounds pretty sick. All right, let's just wait and listen. Did it happen? Where am I missing this? Where is this moment? I'm trying to. It's on. Oh, check out the hi-hat. Okay. Is it here? No. It's here. Yeah. On page 5, the first. Waiting for the 2 of 4 to happen. We're just gonna have to wait this out. Okay, it did its thing. The problem is the other sound needs to stop for that moment. Is it this one? It's this one. So during this segment, I think we can do this. This needs to go silent for this length of time. Is that how we want to do that? This would be on 2 of 4. Oh, it stays silent though. Damn it. What am I gonna have to do? We'll just have to make this sound a lot more obvious. That's cool. Bass notes a little more staccato. This shouldn't happen all the time. Not play when this does play, so 2 of 2, so don't play. I think this sample does not work. What's this? This might actually work. Wish I could set this to be mono or mono legato. D shark minor. What's up? Hey, I'm late to the show. Is the modular system used as an effects box? No, it's used as a polysynth with dope effects. Oh, A plus B? Thanks a lot. Hopefully that's not saved as a part. Cool. So I guess the kind of the experiment here is to see, like, could I just improvise over something like this where I just kind of doing this. And just kind of playing with it and playing with effects over it, and how long can I eke out of each pattern that I'm working on. Save this because this is good, good stuff. Definitely got somewhere. Started this like super minimal drum and bass. I feel like I really want to just have like something with, I think I have like a vocal sample in here that might work. Let me see. You never know if you're at the end of the line there.
Spin all day.
Damn.
I really need. Oh my god.
Let's see how that sounds on here. I think we'll have to like pick. That might be the wrong sample. Really. That's too much rhythm in it.
Here's something. She knows just.
That might work. Like it's already in a song, but I don't mind that.
She knows just what I want. Can't have it. I can't.
Yeah. That needs some work, but oh, that actually sounds good over here now. Page 5. Get a bunch of delay on that. feel like that's really nice that like those two that the minor third to the second is just like the lack of resolution feels really good here. Japanese wouldn't hurt. What if we put like an arpeggio in? I think we just need like a bunch of these like little sounds. Just like play with this, quantize it, and throw probability on it. Dun, 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 dun. Probability. Lower that. Lower the probability even more, so we just dun dun dun. I love that. I love that. Dun dun dun. I want this to be a little bit. Every time it happens, I'm like, oh, that's the best part. Maybe when it comes back in, it should be like. I think it's gonna happen now, so let's just pay attention to it for a second. Yeah. Oh, it adds so much variety. something plucky? Let's get some plucky from it. Turn this off. Let's get all the effects out of here real quick. Whoops. Also, yeah. Whoa! Oh, it's this. There's some bad playing. Let's see what happens if we duck this. Oh, we haven't done the sidechain. So it won't matter. Okay, this is where we're at. Leave this track out of it. Lovely. What a lovely time. My name is Matthew, aka EZBOT. This has been a live stream. We're talking about really tiny eurorack systems making gigantic sounds. And I think that's exactly what this little system does. We made a little bit of drum and bass. We talked about, or we made a little bit of deep house first, and then we made some cool drum and bass. I think it sounds lovely. I'm working on a set for a show that's coming up in a couple of days. Portland, Oregon, modular on the spot. Should be a good time. I don't have the poster in front of me to show you on YouTube right now, but I'll post it later. And in the Discord, if you'd like to get your hands on these Octatrack performance templates, that's patreon.com/EZBOT. You want to get your hands on these cool patch cables and or these LED MIDI cables. That's modbang.com. That's my store. I have this stuff. I develop this stuff, and then I have this stuff manufactured, and I sell it right out of my home, right here where I live. You can find that at modbang.com. Also, the performance templates, magnets, modbang.com, and coffee.com. There's all sorts of .com stuff for you to go to because that's what we do. We do business, huh? If you want to get private lessons, that's EZBOT.live, and also on the Patreon, there's a tier for that. And I will teach you how to do all this stuff, how to build performance templates, how to learn the Digitakt II, how to learn the MA tracker, how to do modular synthesis. I'm also a Bitwig instructor. There's lots of things I can impart my knowledge onto you in a very fun and entertaining manner, hopefully, because it seems to be everybody really enjoys the sessions. So feel free to pick up lessons if you'd like on EZBOT.live or on my Patreon. I'd love to work with you. Lots of cool stuff coming up. I'm working on all sorts of projects I'd love to share with you. I'm still working on the hybrid 4x4 template, which is currently only available on the Patreon. But check that out, and love to hear from you, love to get comments, love to get feedback on all of my work and projects so that I can make things better. But that's going to be it for me today, and we do this live stream every Tuesday, every week, and then hopefully it turns into a shorter video that will go up on the YouTube channel as well later in a couple of weeks. Yeah, that's going to be it. I hope everybody has a great day, and you're the best. Thanks for hanging out. Wonderful time. Beautiful music. I'll see y'all next time.